Turn with me to the book of Romans, chapter 1. Romans, chapter 1. And last week, we got to know the people to whom Paul was writing this great letter, this great epistle that we know as the book of Romans. As we, to the best of our ability, attempted to recreate the setting in which they found themselves, which in turn directed what Paul wrote them, when even Paul wrote them, and why he wrote. And perhaps some of us were surprised to find that the book of Romans didn't drop out of heaven in a glass case with spotlights shined on it, like the Super Bowl Lombardi trophy over there at the Hall of Fame that sits there all year until it's presented to the winner of the Super Bowl. No, it was a letter with a nitty-gritty setting, a particular purpose, an original audience with specific needs, and you could argue it perhaps even came with some disappointing news. The fact that the letter was so long and it wasn't Paul himself, but rather they got a letter itself may have initially been a disappointment. For what they wanted was Paul himself. For Paul told them in this letter he was not coming to Rome, although he wanted to. They would have to settle for this consolation prize of this letter to a church he had never met yet knew existed, and he had known for a while, a long time they'd been there. A church that was under his responsibility as an apostle to the Gentiles, and a group of believers that really needed to be established and strengthened in the gospel. Yes, these Christians needed the gospel. The Romans road initially, it's strange to think of it, but it was intended for believers. The Romans road of Romans was written to believers. For they had heard the gospel and they had believed the gospel, but